Okay, this week we're going to talk about two-step equations. What I've done so far is write down the steps to solving two-step equations. The first step you're going to use is to simplify both sides of the equation. So that might look like combining any like terms or using a distributive property. The second step, after you've simplified both sides of the equation, is to move the constants, that's just your plain old numbers, to the side that does not have any variables, the side without any variables. And your variables, remember, those are the letters that represent our unknown numbers. This is usually done with adding and subtracting. The third step is to isolate the variables, so we'll get just the letter all by itself on one side of the equation, and that's done with multiplying or dividing usually. And then our last step is we're going to actually use what we found to check our answer and make sure that's correct. We'll look at 3 examples, and we'll use these 4 steps to make sure that we've solved the equation. Our first example, we'll solve for the letter n, that's our variable. The first step is to simplify both sides of the equation. What I mean by sides is if we draw a line down the equal sign, we'll separate our equation into a left side and a right side. On the left side, I have something that has 2n and a plus 10, and those can't be combined. Like Mr. Malmer said last week, those are apples and oranges. On the right side, we just have our -2. So the first step is actually already done. The second step is to move all of our constants, that's the plain numbers, so that's our plus 10 and a -2. We want to move move all of the constants to the side that doesn't have any variables. The side that has the variables is 2n, so I want to move all of my plain numbers to the right side because 2n is on the left side. This is a plus 10, so to move it, I have to do the opposite. I have to get rid of it by subtracting 10, because a plus 10 and a minus 10 make a 0. If I did that to the left side, I also have to do that to the right side. This leaves us with 2n, that term, and plus 10 minus 10 make a 0. We don't really have to write a plus 0, because adding 0 doesn't change the value. We'll have a -2 minus 10. These are the same signs, and we're adding or subtracting. If they're the same side, we'll add them together and keep the sign, which was negative. I'm just going to rewrite this. We'll have 2n equals a -12 now. The third step is to isolate the variable. My variable is n. There's a 2 right next to it. 2n is the same as multiplying n by 2. That's what's happening there. So we're going to divide by 2 to get n all by itself. The opposite of multiplying by 2 is to divide by 2. If we do that on the left side, we have to do that on the right side as well. This will get us 2n divided by 2 is the same as 1n, but we don't really have to write the multiplication by 1 because that won't change the value. On the right side, we'll have -12 divided by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. My signs are different, so it's a -6. That means that we found n to be -6. The last thing we're going to do before we say we're done and good is we need to check our answer. So I'll rewrite the equation, which was 2 times n plus 10 equals -2. We said our answer is -6. The n was equal to -6. So instead of writing n, we're going to use -6. What should happen is this equation, 2 times now -6 plus 10, should equal -2. Well, 2 times -6, 2 times 6 is 12. The signs are different, so it's -12. Added to 10 should get us -2. Here I'm adding 2 numbers. with different signs, so I'll really subtract them. I'll find their difference, which is the difference between 10 and 12 is 2. And I'll keep the sign of the bigger number. 12 is bigger than 10, 12 is negative, so the 2 will be negative. So I have negative 2 equals negative 2, which is true. Which means that n equals negative 6 was our correct answer. The second example is negative 15 equals negative 4y plus 5. The first step is to simplify both sides of the equation. So look at the left side and the right side and think about if there's anything that we could simplify there. We see that on the left side there's only one term, so I can't combine it with anything. On the right side, negative 4y and plus 5, they are apples and oranges. We cannot combine them. So step 1's already done here. The second step is to move the constants, that's our plain numbers, to the side without any variables. Our variable is on the right side this time, which means all of my constants should be moved to the left side. The constant on the right side is a plus 5, so I want to move it to the left side. To move it or undo it, it's a positive 5, we'll do the opposite, minus 5. If I subtract 5 on the right side, I also have to do that on the left side. Take a minute and think about what we would be left with on each side of the equation. On the left side, negative 15 minus 5. I'm combining those two terms. They're both negative, so I'll really add them. 15 and 5 is 20, and keep the negative sign. On the right side, negative 4y cannot combine with anything. And this plus 5 and minus 5 makes 0, but we don't really have to write the plus 0 because that doesn't change the value. I'm just going to rewrite the equation again. We'll have negative 20 equals negative 4y. Next thing I have to do is isolate the variable. The variable is y. Right next to it is a negative 4. That's a negative 4 times y, not minus 4 plus y. That is negative 4 multiplied by y. To undo multiplication, we need to divide. I'm writing my division like fractions. To undo a multiplication by negative 4, I'll have to divide by negative 4. That's on the right side. If I do it on the right side, I also have to put it on the left side. I divided by negative 4 on the right side. I also need to divide by negative 4 on the left side. Think about what this would leave us on each side. Negative 20 divided by negative 4. 20 divided by 4 is 5, and those signs are the same, so it's a positive 5. Negative 4y divided by negative 4 leaves us with a positive 1 times y. Multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value though, so 1 times y is really just y. This means that 5 is equal to y. The last thing we'll do is check our answer. So think about what are we going to replace y with in our equation. Negative 15 equals negative 4 times y plus 5. Instead of writing y, we can write 5 because we solved our equation for y equals 5. I'm just going to separate that. On the left side, we have a negative 15. On the right side, I have negative 4 times 5 plus 5. I have to use multiplication first. Negative 4 times 5. That's 4 times 5 is 20. My signs are different, so the product sign will be negative. And I'll add that to 5. That should equal a negative 15. On the left side, I can't do anything with the minus 15. Negative 20 plus 5, those signs are different. So when I combine them, I have to find their difference. Their difference the difference between 20 and 5 is 15. Those signs are different, so I'll keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 20 and it's negative, which means negative 15 equals negative 15, which is true. So y does equal 5. The last example we'll look at is the equation 6 equals x over 4 plus 2. First, we'll divide our left and right sides there along the equal sign. My first step is to simplify both sides of the equation. 6 is the only term on the left side, so I can't combine it with anything. X over 4 and 2, those are apples and oranges, I can't combine them. One of them has a variable, the other one is a constant. They won't combine together. The second step is to move all of my constants, or plain numbers, to the side without any variables. My variable is x and it's on the right side, so I have to move every constant to the left side. The constant on the right side is plus 2. To move that, I should subtract 2. Now I'm just going to combine those terms. On the left side, 6 minus 2 is 4. On the right side, x over 4 doesn't combine with anything. Plus 2 minus 2 is 0. But I don't really have to write the plus 0 because that won't change the value. Adding 0 doesn't change the value of the number. I'll just rewrite the equation now. We have 4 equals x over 4. Okay. Now I want to isolate the variable. The variable is x, and we have x over 4. This bar here is a division sign. So I want to do the opposite of division. The opposite of dividing is to multiply. I want x by itself, so I'm multiplying by whatever I divided by. I'm dividing by 4, so I should multiply by 4 on both sides of the equation. Now what we're left with on the left side, 4 times 4 is 16. On the right side, x times 4, and then all divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 makes 1. So I'll have 1 times x. This is 1 times x, but when I multiply by 1, the value of a number doesn't change, so I don't really have to write the 1, which means 16 is equal to x. We're not quite done. Now we need to check our answer to make sure that we were correct. We've got 6 equals, instead of x over 4, we can write 16 over 4, and then plus 2. Okay. On the right side, 16 over 4, that's our multiplication and division. That happens before we add or subtract. This is division. 16 divided by 4 is 4, plus 2, and that should equal 6. Well, 4 plus 2 is 6. So 6 is equal to 6, and that's true, which means our answer was correct. Don't forget to complete the quizzes assignment that's posted in your Schoology. Have a good week.